All right, let's talk about the incredible collapse of Kingfisher Airlines, one of India's most ambitious and, let's be honest, glamorous ventures. It's a wild story, really, all about these huge, high-flying dreams just slamming into a wall of cold, hard cash. So, the big question is, how on earth did the king of good times end up crashing and burning?
And we have to start with something incredibly heavy. This is a line from a suicide note written by the wife of a Kingfisher employee. He hadn't been paid his salary for 6 months. It just goes to show you, this wasn't just about spreadsheets and stock prices. The collapse had a real, devastating human cost.
So yeah, how did it get to that point? You've got this airline, right? Backed by one of the most famous, flamboyant tycoons out there. How does it go from being the celebrated king of good times to this grounded symbol of total failure?
Okay, to really get it, we need to go back. Let's rewind to the very beginning. It's 2005, and Kingfisher Airlines just bursts onto the scene with all this hype, all this fanfare. They were promising to completely change the game for flying in India.
And their whole thing was luxury. I mean, Kingfisher was the first airline to have in-flight entertainment on domestic flights in India. They were serving up fancy meals, giving out these little welcome kits. It wasn't just a flight, it was supposed to be a whole experience. And they were thinking big, I mean really big. You can see that when they went and bought the low-cost airline Air Deccan back in 2007.
But here's where the plot thickens. This is the real mystery of the story. Right around the same time, another airline you've probably heard of, Indigo, was getting started. They're both facing the same economy, the same challenges, yet today, one of them completely dominates the Indian sky, and the other is, well, it's just a memory. So what gives? Why did one fly and the other fail?
And boom, this right here, this slide tells you almost everything you need to know. It wasn't just about being a fancy airline versus a budget one. Look closer. The fatal flaw, the one big mistake, is staring us right in the face. Kingfisher was flying 3 different kinds of planes. Indigo, they stuck with just one. And believe me, that one little decision, it's going to have some absolutely catastrophic consequences.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Let's really dig into how this one single decision, to have a mixed fleet of planes, created this massive ripple effect that just, well, it sank the whole company.
All right, first up, buying the planes themselves. Think about it like this. When you buy anything in bulk, you get a way better price, right? Well, it's the same with airplanes, just on a much, much bigger scale. Indigo was ordering hundreds of the exact same plane. They got huge discounts. Kingfisher, on the other hand, was buying a few of these, a few of those, a mix of A320s, A330s, and ATRs. They just couldn't get that same bargaining power.
And the difference in cost? It's honestly staggering. We're talking extra 450 crore rupees. That's about $60 million every single year, just in extra leasing costs compared to Indigo. This was a massive financial hole they dug for themselves, right from the get-go.
Okay, so that's buying the planes. What about fixing them? This is where it gets even messier. 3 different types of planes means you need 3 different inventories of spare parts. You need 3 different groups of engineers who are trained on each specific plane. You need 3 completely separate supply chains. It was just a total logistical nightmare.
And that nightmare had a price tag, up to 400 crore rupees a year, just for spare parts. Think about it. A part for an A330 is useless for an ATR. So you have all this expensive, redundant equipment just sitting in warehouses. Meanwhile, Indigo is running this super efficient, lean system where pretty much any part can be used on any plane in their fleet. Simple, right? And it doesn't stop there. What about the pilots? Well, guess what? Each type of plane needs its own special multi-million-dollar flight simulator for training. And pilots need to be certified for each specific aircraft. So again, Kingfisher needed 3 of everything.
And when you look at the numbers here, it's just wild. The difference in what they spent is huge. Over the years, Kingfisher burned through hundreds of crores more than Indigo, just on training pilots and buying simulators. It's another example of a massive and frankly totally unnecessary drain on their cash. So all these big strategic mistakes started to create chaos on the ground every single day. You'd have the wrong type of plane at a gate built for another, causing this domino effect of delays. Their planes were only in the air for about 8 hours a day, while Indigos were flying for 11 or 12. That's a huge hit to your revenue. Pretty soon, their on-time performance just cratered, down to 60%. And by early 2012, things were so bad with maintenance that almost 2/3 of their entire fleet couldn't even fly.
So you've got this operational mess, this daily chaos. And that, as you can imagine, is what triggered the final catastrophic financial nosedive.
And when the end came, it came fast. I mean, really fast. Late 2011, the tax department freezes their bank accounts. Bam! March 2012, the International Air Transport Authority basically kicks them out. Then in October, the staff, who hadn't been paid in months, go on strike. A few weeks after that, the government steps in and suspends their permit. It was just one knockout punch after another.
And you can see here what that meant for their customers. For a hot second, after buying AirDeccan, Kingfisher was actually a market leader. But as the problems piled up, as flights got canceled left and right, people just stopped flying with them. Their share of the market got sliced almost in half in just a few short years. Customers voted with their wallets.
And this is the final bill. The mountain of debt they left in their wake. Over 7,500 crore rupees. We're talking about $1 billion US, owed to 17 different banks. The sheer scale of the financial wreckage is just, it's hard to even wrap your head around.
So the planes are grounded for good. You'd think that's the end of the story, right? Not even close. The aftermath was just beginning.
After it all went down, the Central Bank of India gave the company a very specific and very serious label, a willful defaulter. Now, this isn't just a fancy term for someone who can't pay their bills. No, it's a formal charge. It means the bank believes you had the ability to pay, but you chose not to, or even worse, that you siphoned the money off somewhere else.
And if you want to see the collapse in black and white, here it is. Just look at the difference between fiscal year 2011 and 2012. They went from a tiny little operating profit to a huge loss of 855 crore. And the total losses after tax, they more than doubled in a single year. The speed of this failure is just breathtaking.
So that brings us full circle, back to the big question. Was Kingfisher just a victim of bad luck and tough times? Or was this a textbook case of putting the flashy, glamorous brand ahead of the boring but essential business of actually running an airline? That, I think, is the real question at the heart of this entire spectacular collapse.